Arizona basketball gets a huge win against Cincinnati, and there were a lot of bright spots. There were also a few troublesome spots. We're going to talk about that now.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it Locked On Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. Okay, now, Arizona beats Cincinnati. As we talked about before, a win is a win is a win. That is all we care about here on Big 12 play. Because like I said, this is not like in the past where you're playing your Stanfords and your Californias and all these schools that just aren't good. All these teams are good. Cincinnati is good. They're ranked 16th. Now, they might not be the 16th best team. They certainly didn't look like it. But either way, they're good. So there's obviously that. Now, the other thing, too, that I think we need to talk about is, listen, you get any road win, you make no apologies for it. You look ahead, though, a little bit, and we're not going to try to do too much of that, but you got some winnable games coming up. You've got you've got a WVU, you've got a UCF, you've got an Oklahoma State. I mean, there are definitely some wins to be had here, and I think that's the exciting part about all of this is that, Arizona could probably string some things off. But let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. The first thing that we need to discuss is where exactly the difference in this Arizona team is, and it starts with Henri Veesaar. Henri Veesaar has become a massive difference maker for the University of Arizona. He has become huge for what the Wildcats are trying to do. Listen, you watch him and he's better than Mo Krivas. I don't care what anybody said. He's just better than Mo Krivas. He's more active. And when he's dribbling the ball and he's putting it on the ground, he's trying to dunk the ball. It's exciting to see how he is doing this and blocking shots, getting rebounds, getting assists. I think Cody Martin put it very well when he's like, I think that he's got something like 8 points and he's got something like he had 8 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, a couple blocks, a couple steals, just really filling up the stat sheet. And that's something that, I think that a lot of people can take for granted. So there's obviously that. I think the other thing, too, that you need to look at with this squad is where are you now with how this all does play out with this team and this Arizona squad, who can be that next guy, and that's obviously Carter Bryant. Carter Bryant is the best lineup for this team, by and large, is when you've got, and again, it could depend on the fit, but you've generally got Jaden Bradley, Caleb Love, KJ Lewis, depending, and then you've got Carter Bryant and Henri Veesaar. The Edgerson twins just aren't good enough. When you got 2 6'6" guys, really can't do much, but it just isn't good enough. So that's kind of the situation that I think that where this all does play out. But Carter has been immense. Carter has been the best. He's just a revelation because of how long he is, and not only how long he is, but he can really shoot the ball, and we're seeing that at points now where you've got him, and you're like, okay, man, he can really do some things, and he's just a smart basketball player. He's been worked very well, and again, his best basketball is clearly ahead of him. He's been fun to watch. It's been fun to watch. My whole thing is I just don't want him to get too good. That is my concern. I do not want him to get too good, and that's something that I think that you got to deal with. But you know what? It's a good problem to have. It is a good problem to have. Now, when it comes to Arizona, that front court, that is your front court. I think it's pretty bad. I think it's pretty much cut and dry at that point that those should be your best players. So then Jaden Bradley, I want to give Jaden Bradley a huge shout out. I love Jaden Bradley. 15 points on 5 of 9, just goes about his business in a very quiet manner. Just a good basketball player and just a good juju, just good player to have on a team. I think people will take guys like Jaden Bradley for granted because, they're a little bit more quiet or whatever the case may be. But you watch him and he's like, you can tell he just gets basketball. He just gets the line. He just gets everything. So there's obviously that. But overall, though, this was a really, really good win. Plus, Caleb Love didn't play well. One thing about it is with this team is that Caleb Love, generally when he doesn't play well, it's a recipe for big losses. Arizona got away with him 3 of 15 from the field and some terrible lazy turnovers. That's my other problem with this squad. I don't know why we're having these lazy turnovers. These things annoy me. Stop doing the lazy turnovers. It makes absolutely no sense. I do not get that. Not only do I not get that, I don't get I don't get why teams do that, to be honest with you. And it's definitely a Tommy Lloyd. It's definitely a Tommy Lloyd thing because this just continuously happens, and I don't know why it happens. I don't know why it. I just don't know why it happens. That is the part that is just frustrating because it just continuously happens, and that's what's frustrating about all of this. Do you let off the gas? Whatever the case may be, and you can see it instantly happen. And one of the reasons that happens is that Tommy Lloyd insists on playing the stupid lineup where it's fine if you've got one of Trey Townsend and Tobe Awaka out there. I can't have both of them. I can't have both the Edgerson twins out there. You've got to only have one because Henry has got to be out there blocking shots, whatever the case may be. And then you've also got to have Carter Bryant in there because he's just got skill that those dudes don't have, and he's a better rebounder than both of those guys. So that's the other thing. That's kind of where we're at with that. I do think that right now this is a team that is definitely trending in the right direction, and I think that there's a spot here too where you could look at it and say, man, this is going to be a team that could really be some problems down the road. And a big reason why, obviously, is Henri Veesaar. Henri Veesaar is that reason that you could be a it could be a big reason for Arizona being really good. And we're going to talk about more and that margin for error that Henry gives you. But first, FanDuel, my friends, FanDuel. Here's the deal with FanDuel. You can put down $5 and you can get $250 in free plays if that bet hits. But you got to be a new customer. If you're a new customer and that bet hits, guess what? $250 in free plays. You got the NFL obviously here in high gear. You got the playoffs. You got the NBA. You got college basketball. You got college football playoffs. You got a lot of different things. You got a smorgasbord of different things to check out. And FanDuel is right here. That's the best part about it. I think with FanDuel, the best thing about FanDuel as well is that you know that your money is good. You can bet before a game, you can bet after a game, you can bet during a lot of different things. So again, check it out at FanDuel. Another one of these ones, you're going to thank me later eventually. FanDuel, check it out. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. Okay, now, let's talk a little bit about where we are at now when it comes to Arizona basketball and its margin for error. It has no margin for error when it comes to when you have Tobe Awaka and you have Trey Townsend. None. There's no margin for error. You can't have that. When you got Henry in there, Henry can block some shots. Henry can dunk. Henry's actually got some skill. Again, the My Bad Henry movement is in full effect right now. I know the best thing about it too is that when you've got this team, those pieces just kind of fit. Trey Townsend, And Awaka, they just don't do anything. That's the problem, is they don't do anything. And if you've got basketball players that don't do anything, that's generally going to be an issue for you. They don't do anything, and it is frustrating to watch. But that is what it is. But that's the lineup, though. And I got to give KJ Lewis some credit. KJ Lewis in the second half made some really, really big drives to the bucket, scored, showed some toughness. Listen, when he just can't dribble the ball, that's just going to be an issue. I don't know, maybe it's something you can get a little bit better at, but overall, I think it's fair to say that dribble, that handle just isn't there. And what they've got to stop doing again, you've got to stop with the lazy passes. He and Caleb are kings of really making really lazy passes. You can't do that because those are turnarounds the other way for dunks. Can't have that happen. So there is that. But this is a team, though, again, you're 2-0 in the Big 12, and you've got a possibility of really running off some wins here. And I think that's the exciting part about all of this, is that you can run off some wins. And I think if you're Arizona, you feel pretty good about the situation that you're in. Now, keep in mind, too, maybe Arizona just lost to some really, really good teams. West Virginia is a good team. Oklahoma is a good team. UCLA is a good team, and Arizona was in it all those games. Now, granted, you weren't in the Wisconsin game, but that game was also kind of weird, and Duke is just better than Arizona. I hate to say that, but Duke just has a better team. They've got way more margin for error. But now that Arizona's playing the right players, who knows? Maybe Arizona can actually stick this one out a little bit. So we will see. I do think we're at the point now with Arizona, though, that, it's a one-game proposition. It's one game at a time. And that's really all that I can say, that it's one game at a time with this team. And that's where I think, Arizona's in a very interesting spot now. So you got 2-0, you got a little bit of a margin for error. Hopefully you can go in and get that West Virginia win. You go in and you beat West Virginia, you're 3-0. You got a real chance of starting this conference season 5-0. And in the best conference in college basketball, that's a big thing. You can start off 5-0, then it's like, all right, move on from there. Because, again, you want to stack these wins because you're going to have some tough games. You're going to have your Houstons. You're going to have your Kansases. Last game of the season in Fog Allen, things like that. So stack as many of these wins as possible, and I think you could just continue to move on from there. But you definitely have some optimism at this point. I think with this squad, the thing that you can tell with them is that they are getting better, and that I think you're starting to figure out the players that have the better potential. The players like your Henrys, your Carters are starting to play more as they should. But as long as you go with the lineup where you've got where you've got Trey Townsend and you've got Tobe Awaka, I just can't have that. Because you're too small, you're just not good enough, you don't get rebounds, you don't score, and you turn the ball over at a very high rate. Like yesterday, they combined for 38 minutes and had 8 points and 8 rebounds. Like, no, you can't do that. Imagine if you gave Carter 38 minutes. Imagine if you gave Henry 38 minutes, what they'd do. Now, again, you could say they need to get into better shape, and that's probably all true. But my point still stands, though, that this is a team that you're holding them back by playing that lineup continuously. You just can't do that, and I think we're going to continue to see that. Guys like ADO, they're matchup specific, and it's that just kind of is what it is. There'll be some games where he can play. There'll be some games where he just can't play, and I just don't think that at this stage in the game that you can play, you can just bank on playing certain guys certain minutes. I think that's where Tommy gets into trouble because I think he promises players minutes. I don't have any proof of that. But like last year with Boswell, he was always going to play a certain amount no matter how bad he was. And I kind of feel that's the way like with the Trey Townsend now, where he's always going to play no matter how bad he is. And that's something that at a high-level school, I just don't think that you can continue to get away with. Hopefully they stop doing that. But overall, though, this is a good win for Arizona. A win is a win is a win. Yes, it was a little bit frustrating that it came down to this, but at the same time, you're 2-0 in conference play, and you're looking ahead to West Virginia, and you're saying, okay, let's try to get this win, and then we could probably go from there. maybe start off with a really nice little margin for error. But it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be tough on the road. And I think the one thing about it is that you're finding out this team can get a little bit better. We're gonna talk about that and all of this and what it means going forward, because it's going to be fascinating. This is not a lost cause team by any means, and obviously probably going to have some really good reinforcements coming in next season. But we will be back with you tomorrow. As always, appreciate you making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day, and thank you for listening to the post-game show. We will be back with you tomorrow.